what's up everyone? It's Septiksiren. I don't know if the audio is too loud or not, but as you just saw, I turned on Electric Wizard's Black Mass album. This is the only Electric Wizard album that I have in my collection, which is so depressing because it's not even my favorite, but I can actually play this on the guitar and sing it at the same time, which I'm actually really proud of myself for, which is the opening track, the self-titled Black Mass. But anyway, I feel like this is really redundant. I feel like a lot of my videos are really redundant, but I just kind of miss making these talking videos, and a lot of you guys say that you want more of these. So I thought that I would talk about, or more going in depth on being the only metalhead in high school. I made a really old video, one of the first videos on this channel, I think, is called When You're a Loner and When You're a Metalhead. That was near the end of 8th grade, or the end of 8th grade, just entering high school. I mean, since then, that was 2 or 3 years ago, almost 4, but since then I have made a lot of metal friends. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not near me. And then I made a Q&A video last year around this time, and one of the questions was how to sort of survive being the only metalhead in high school. But this is sort of kind of going on experience and kind of what it's like. I mean, a lot of you guys know what it's like, obviously, but kind of going in depth. I don't know, a lot of people like something to relate to. I love something to relate to, so I kind of want to give it to you. So basically, you guys know I come from a very small town, and when you live in a small town, there's not a big variety of different people. A lot of them are very normal, very white. I live in a very white town. Up north we get a lot of snow, and it makes people really cranky, which sucks. So, I remember probably sophomore year, well, no, there's a guitar club at my school, and I remember in 8th grade, I went to the high school orientation. We went in the cafeteria where all the clubs were, and I saw a guitar club, the guitar club stand, because I was just so excited, to join this guitar club, and so they had this poster, and I saw this guy with a BC Rich guitar and an Iron Maiden shirt, and he had long hair, and I'm like, holy shit, an actual metalhead goes here? I was so excited. You had no idea how excited I was. Oh my god, I really hope this guy still goes to school with me, because I'd really like to be friends with them and stuff, how you would, you know. It's just wow, there are actual metal people that live in this really small town. How? And turns out when I got into high school, those people graduated, and yes, they were legit metalheads. They had a metal band. It was just so sad, but I'm really glad that I did get to hang out with them a few times. And they had a death metal band, and I've been to 1 or 2 of their shows, which is pretty cool. I'm really lucky to have gotten to know them. But I did have friends that were in the guitar club. They were all upperclassmen. They didn't really like metal, but one of my friends gave me this Iron Maiden poster here, because he used to like Iron Maiden. Kind of phased out though. He's kind of into indie type, almost like acid rock. I don't know if I should call it that. I don't really know, but just weird experimental music. Anyway, fast forward to sophomore year, I used to really identify with the metalhead persona. I'd wear band shirts every day. I would headbang in the morning to get my hair extra metal. You know, very Dave Mustainian, very thrash, very 80s thrash. Hair advice. What I find, actually, headbanging makes your hair more fluffy, sort of, if you see that very thrasher hairstyle. A lot of people ask about mine. It's all about getting the airflow. It's all about airflow with your hair. Not everybody has hair like this, but even for like people with like really straight hair, like even headbanging and stuff like that, just like windmilling, you know, it'll really help bring airflow to your hair and bring more volume. Just some advice, some hot tips. And alright, so sophomore year, I really identified with being a metalhead. I was getting into like more, I'd have to say, I liked black metal before. I liked a lot of black metal before, but I listened to a lot of black metal. And this was before I got expelled. But, sophomore year, let me think, I got expelled, after Thanksgiving break. So, what I found, well, my friends graduated, they moved on, so, like, I was completely alone. And, you know, I lived in this small town, this small school, and full of white-ass basic bitches. And they were so rude. They were, back in 2017, for some reason, they were so rude. Just so unbelievably rude. I've always been different. I didn't always like metal. I remember when I was little, metal made me feel very uncomfortable, but this was so weird. When I was little, I identified this one, like, my dad would turn on, like, this metal station, and it was, like, literal death metal. And I'm like, oh, this sounds satanic. Like, my dad, like, turns on satanic death metal in the garage, so I'm like, I already sort of identified and labeled a certain kind of metal lyrical concept when I was like, how old was I? Probably like 8. I was probably like, I thought that was really funny, but anyway, I've always been different. I started getting into heavier music by the end of 7th grade. I started really getting into depth into metal near the end of 8th grade. When I was 14 going on 15, I started listening to like Acid Witch, Electric Wizard. I started listening to like Opeth and Death. I think I liked Mayhem before. I started getting into like more black metal. I just don't really remember what bands, but Hellhammer and Celtic Frost were like one of the first metal bands that I actually ever listened to, which is really weird. It's really weird how, like, I found that before anything else. Like, it was Hellhammer, then, no, it was Metallica, then Linkin Park, then Baby Metal, then Hellhammer, and then Slipknot, and then Celtic Frost, and then, like, Slayer, and then the rest is history. But, so sophomore year, I really identified with the metal part of me. It's all I really was then, even though this was a year ago. But, God, I'm spacing out already. Let me think. Where was I? I didn't really have much of a personality besides the fact that I was, like, really into metal, really into extreme metal. So I'd wear my band shirts every day. I'd wear my ripped up jeans. I would make my hair extra thrash. Just, you know, how I was. And I was in a really dark place. So for some reason, here's some advice. When you're the only metalhead in a school like mine, try not to have metal be the only thing that you identify with. And I'm going to explain why. I was bullied a lot. And it's not just because I was into metal, it's just sort of the really edgy persona. It's very isolating, and you have a hard time making friends when all people assume you are is, oh, she listens to, like, a lot of, like, death metal, so she, like, I'm pretty sure, like, I heard that she, like, does satanic rituals, and, like, she, like, eats babies, and like she brings like bones, like she carries like bones in her pockets. Like I actually used to do that. I had this really sharp dog bone, and I would carry it in my pocket. I don't know why, I just thought I was like the edgiest piece of shit in the world for doing that. But yeah, it's very isolating when all you identify with is metal. And my advice is try to expand on your interests. I'm not saying to like never wear your band shirts again, but this year, I just started expressing my more fashion side because I'm also really into fashion. If you follow my Instagram account, link in the description. I do like a lot of modeling, and I just really like thrifting, and I really love vintage grungy goth fashion, and I like to do stuff with that. I also really like making my video montages like the Strange Days. It's just such a great outlet, you know, just for my art. I'm really into that type of stuff. And people, I've gotten a lot of like compliments over that, like, wow, now we really get to see like who you are, like, because everybody before saw me as just this stereotypical metalhead. There's nothing wrong with that. I love a good stereotype, but there's more to you that people want to see. And it's even like really basic people. You know, like if I see like a shirt on them that I like, I'm like, hey, I like your shirt or something. They'll be like, oh my god, thank you. I see you in the hallway and your outfits look so cool. Like you seem like such a cool person. I've gotten that like a lot of times, and it makes me really happy. Like, and also, if you're one of those people that you don't really have anybody to sit with at lunch, last year I was so terrified of going into the lunchroom. I think a few times I never ate, really. I never ate my lunch. I never had a lunch, really. So I just go into the bathroom, and I remember I made a makeshift knife. I stole a razor out of the chemistry lab, and I had a paper clip, and I like wrapped it, attached to like a mechanical pencil. I was an edgy piece of shit, but I sat in the library most of the time. Yeah, I was bullied in the library too. I also got this. I'm gonna put corpse paint on it, but I've just been holding it. There's always going to be at least a group of people in your school that will accept you for who you are, and you will know these people. They're just really nice, like not really, you know, I found people to sit with actually, and they're really nice. They accept me for who I am, and like I can say whatever I want and they don't care. So it's really great. And honestly, how you can find that is you just sort of have to go out and just sort of look around, you know, and don't be afraid to say, hey, can I sit with you, you know? Yeah. But there are a few people I know at my school who do listen to metal, not really extreme metal. Like, there are people I know who like Iron Maiden. I saw a kid the other day wear a Judas Priest shirt. A lot of people like Slipknot, Korn, a lot of people like, now some people I know listen to Megadeth, they like Ozzy, they like Motley Crue, you know, stuff like that. Metallica's a really big one. I know some people, like, even like really jockey basic boys who listen to Slayer. I know people like that. Like, there's actually a lot of guys that listen to Slayer. They're kind of closeted, you know? So there are people who like metal. Just, I'm a girl, so I get made fun of more by girls, especially like when I was in gym and like the locker rooms. Like, oh my god, girls were so mean. And I'd wear like my Iron Maiden hoodie to gym every day, and I'd like walk around, and I could play music in my earbuds, and I'd be blasting, I remember Nocturnal Mortem was one that I played a lot. and people would they would dab on me. They'd go like this as they'd walk by, and I just like go like that, and they'd be like, oh, come at me, bro, come at me, bro. I'm like, fuck off. They'd call me a bitch when I didn't hold the door open. They'd go like, ugh, every time they walked past me. I'm surprised they didn't like take my shit out of my locker and like dump it in the garbage. I'm honestly really surprised they didn't do anything like that. But just when you are the only metalhead in your town, in your school, you don't have to only identify with the metal side of you. There is a lot more. And people, sometimes I feel like nobody cares about me, like I'm completely invisible, but at the same time, I just kind of feel like, this is so weird, I love black metal so much. Sometimes I feel like the more black metal I listen to, the more I start to hate everyone. There's a lot of happy people who listen to black metal, and I'm not just like saying like, oh, don't listen to black metal, it's gonna make you hate everybody, because I hate everybody to begin with. It's not black metal's fault. But I just feel like the more extreme metal I blast in my ears and I listen to, and just the more I identify with, the more cynical towards everybody I become, because they're so different from me, they're so normal, they're all like a bunch of posers, and I'm better than them, and I listen to way better music. Turn that rap off or I'll bite your head off because it sucks. Turn on some Slayer because Slayer's better. Turn on some Cannibal Corpse because Cannibal Corpse is better. You guys don't understand me, I don't understand you, get the fuck out of my way, I hate you, go kill yourself. Basically, that was my mentality. And just when you're in that environment, you can either sink or swim. You can either, and honestly, okay, not everybody cares as much as I do. I have a very low self-esteem, so what people say often really affects me personally, and that really sucks. But there's a lot more to me than just metal, and I sort of expressed that at school. In fact, I don't really wear many band shirts to school anymore, and it's not just because like, oh, I'm phasing out or anything, because I still listen to the majority metal. Very rarely, you know, occasionally I'll listen to post-punk, occasionally I'll listen to something like King Gizzard, occasionally I'll like listen to like some Riot Girl or like grunge, but lately I've been more into like black and death metal. I'm listening to Cannibal Corpse in my car right now, and I was just listening to this album by the band Utarm or something. It's called Mutilation Epic. It's really weird, but it's black metal. It's raw black metal. It's really weird, but it's really good. So, but I'm just gonna wrap it up here. That's just kind of like my advice and sort of my story with being the only metalhead in high school. And if you want more metalhead friends, online is a really good outlet. There is Metal Amino, which is an entire app dedicated to a community of metalheads. I don't go on it anymore, but I do have an account, but that is just like a good way to find other metalheads. You can also just find other like metal YouTubers or other like metal people on social medias. You can like form group chats and stuff and really good online relationships. And how you can make friends in real life: go to shows. Go to a lot of shows, and do not be afraid to speak to people. Do not be afraid to just like be yourself, go crazy, and just be really outgoing. You really have to step out of your comfort zone. If you want to make friends anywhere, you really have to go out of your comfort zone. So that's all the advice I have for today. I cracked. Okay, anyway, this is your pal Septiksiren, and stay metal.